All right, we are live. Hello, Maree. Hello, Jesse. Hello, everybody on the chat. As you can see, Tyler's not with us just yet. He will be here any minute. Oh, there he is. So let me add him on to the show. Hello, Tyler.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
good. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh, I freaking walked up to the store to get a smoothie, and I literally lost track of time. And then I got back, and I'm like, oh shit. Uh, I thought
No worries.
I'm still getting used to my new time zone out here, and I'm like always getting the time screwed up. So I got to get used to the time zone I'm in. Anyway, I'm here.
No worries. Awesome. Well, welcome back. Um,
Hello, hello.
to Reality Check Tarot, and we are excited, me especially, and about getting to, to the rest of your book, which was so exciting. And okay, so, and I want to talk about your retreat after, after we're done as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we left it at around page 71, which is around chapter 4. I don't know. So give us a little information about, and this question is about, how did your handler know all the details about you, including your abductions? So tell people who was your handler, how did you meet him, so that they have sort of an idea of what this question is about.
Okay, so it was, well, I have to say, I didn't realize it was a handler at first. It was an acquaintance of mine, a friend of mine, put me in contact with this guy who claimed to be part of this black budget Navy program, for lack of a better term. And he was coming forward as a whistleblower, and he had a lot of incredible information to share. And as a podcast host, that sounds right up my alley. Of course, I want to hear these people out. This is what we do. And I was put in contact with him, and right off the bat, like the first phone call we had lasted hours. And it became apparent he had details about things, about these programs that no one else was talking about, very specific locations to underground bases, and just details I had never heard before, but it corroborated, everything fit with everything else I was hearing. So I was intrigued, but then he started sharing, like he would just kind of like throw things into the conversation about me. Like at one point he had mentioned something about the way I walk. I have hip issues. I have like twisted hips. And he said something. He just like, yeah, he goes, something about the way I walked with my twisted hips. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like this guy couldn't know me from anyone, right? As far as I knew. This is the first time we ever met, and we're on the phone, and he immediately, and then there was another health issue that he brought up about my back. And I'm like, how do you know that? And he just would kind of like, he wouldn't say how he knew, but he just kept like revealing little things like that at first that made me like pause. I'm like, wait, who is this guy? And it started there, and it kept getting more and more. I kept getting more and more intrigued because he was sharing more and more stuff. But I'll let you, look like you want to ask a question.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to say something. So anyway, he knew about my hip issues right off the bat, and he said something like about my twisted hip walk or something, in which I do have, like my hips are quite literally twisted, and even on an X-ray. So I found that very interesting. And then he knew kind of like the layout of my home in a weird way, almost like he had like a crystal ball or something. And we were talking about something, and he said, that's why you sleep in the basement. And I'm like, how could he know that I sleep in the basement? It was really weird stuff that was kind of creeping me out. And he never really would answer any of my questions directly, which was super frustrating. But then whenever I realized he wouldn't give me any more information in that area, I would move to a different area and ask him more questions about the program he was in and stuff. And it was, he would tell me what he could, and he said he had NDAs in place, non-disclosure agreements, so he couldn't talk about certain things. It turned into what turned into vetting him for an interview turned into what I realize now was a grooming process for him to quite literally recruit me into this program. And when I say that, he directly asked me if I would like to join the program that he was in. And eventually is what happened after probably months and months of talking. And he was very, very invested in helping me learn how to remote view, tap into my psychic abilities. I think he was trying to gauge me, see where I was capable, see what I was capable of. At one point, we got on a phone call and we were doing it was like a psych. He was testing like a psych eval. I don't know, testing my psychic abilities. He would ask me, hold up the Zener cards and see if I could tell him what was on the other side of the card and all this type of stuff. And I knew, well, it's such a long story. Like this whole episode can be specifically about that chapter alone. So I have to slow myself down here. So if you want to ask any questions at all, you can.
Yeah, just keep going. Keep going. This is good.
Okay. So I need to rewind a little bit because I did fast forward. This was, like I said, months of talking. We started talking daily or every other day at least. We would do Zoom calls, and his wife and his daughter would come on, and his daughter had all these incredible experiences she was sharing. If I had a dream about something specific, he had information to fill in the blanks about that dream as if he was like somehow monitoring my dreams, which was like super creepy. And a lot of times,
so that would be a good question.
Can I just ask Tyler as well, what sort of year are we talking here? What
I was put in contact with him in 2021.
Okay, so recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right. Would you be okay in asking that and asking how was he able to know what you were dreaming?
Yeah, or just know anything about me at all. It was almost like he had some sort of a file. Like, you know what I mean? Like if we hear about these FBI files or whatever that apparently all of us have, it was almost like he had some kind of file, and he would almost like dangle it. He didn't tell me he had the file, but he held that over me, that he knew stuff about me that I didn't even know about myself. Is kind of what it felt like.
Wow.
All right. So let's find out about that. Cause that is kind of the question. How did he know all the details about you, including your abductions? Cause he also knew when you had been abducted.
Yes. Thank you for this so much. Yeah, absolutely. He knew about some time, a very specific occasion when I was 5 years old that he couldn't have known about. And then there was another time when I was 13 and I was camping with a friend of mine that he knew he had information about. And both times were really anomalous times in my childhood that I have since learned, or before that, but I had learned that they were abductions. And I never told him that, but he somehow knew. And it's just like, okay, there's something much more going on here that I can understand. And I don't know if this guy was extremely gifted and had this like psychic ability, or if he had a file or what.
Yeah.
So what are the cards telling us? And your intuition too, Maree, of course.
My intuition really it's activated with you, Tyler. It's really interesting. So what I got, because the cards are coming out, I'm going, okay, this is telling me a story. But the first one is the King of Wands. So he wasn't just talented. There was some action taken. It was a master plan. The King of Wands is the master of taking action. And it was a strategy. So I feel, because I know this happens, they can actually tap into our etheric field. They can put like watches, little electronic, whatever devices into our light body, into our actual field. So I feel that strategy has happened for you, because the Hierophant is someone that watches, someone that actually has authority, and they actually can control even through it. So, but little bit by little bit, with the wisdom you got, the Page of Cups is always about doing something emotionally in a way that's not too disturbing and dropping some wisdom in. That's what the fish means as well. So I feel that this would have happened to you like a long time ago when you were young. And so they could either read or even have some manipulation with your energy field. Yeah, they were working on that for a long time. That's the Eight of Pentacles.
So Maree,
Yeah,
did they? So is it possible that this handler was already in Tyler's life? Like
Before.
watching him? Yeah, watching him before or even involved in his abductions?
Very good question. Let's find out. I have no idea how old this person is, so I'm just going to see what the cards say with this. Okay, let's just see what we... Oh, that one's hot. What's going on here? Oh, I'd say so because we've got the Tower card. So this is... also what I'm getting is that it doesn't matter who it is. Like, it could have been someone started it when you were younger, but then it's been handed over to someone else. But their Four of Swords has come up. So they have this secret that they can just pass on, or they can pass on the information. So it's not, it actually doesn't really matter about who it was at the end of the day. It's what they've got to work with. Yeah. So, and then we've got the Queen of Wands, which is really interesting because this is my integrity card. This is when there's some action being taken that's integrous. So what I'm getting is the cat shows me your intuition. So I feel you had a balance to this as well. An aspect of your God self, an aspect of you in a positive way was actually protecting you as well.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. He mentioned there was things a lot more that happened during that period that I didn't put in the book. There was a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's hard to retain all of it. But he did mention about clones. Like I had woken up one time. This part is in the book. I woke up with a voice in my head, very audible voice. It said, "Write this number down, 92720." And I just immediately grabbed my phone and I texted my co-host Aaron because it was like the most recent thing. I just to remember it, and it was so loud in my head. It was like headphones, and I think it was probably a voice of God or something, but somebody wanted me to know that number. Whenever I told him that, because once I realized he knew things about me, I started asking him questions about certain things that happened to me to see if he had any more insight. And I asked him about that time. And I say, I woke up, I heard this number in my head, 92720. And he said, 19720. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's 19, not 92. You heard it wrong. And I said, how do you know? He said, that's your clone ID number, or one of them. And I said, I have clones. And he said, you have 3 of them, but you're not supposed to know that. And
oh my God, Tyler, that is my next question. Does Tyler have any clones?
Yeah. So, I have no way of verifying that, right? I'm just taking his word for it. But then that's when he revealed to me, he's like, how do I know? How do you think I know about your twisted hips? And I said, do you work with one of my clones? Do you work with me like in a program or something? And he said, no comment. So it was just weird things like that sounds so crazy out there, but he would say it so matter of factly that I had to question it,
Interesting.
Well, my understanding, I guess we don't have to ask that question then, right? Because
yeah.
So my question would be, so I a while back, when I was waking up, I had people come to my house, and with this, psychics started coming as part of this meetup group I had created. And then we started talking about clones, and one of the people there, he's like, oh yeah, I have a clone. And we're like, what? And he goes, yeah, I have a clone. It's somewhere, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, isn't that like siphoning some of your energy? And so he's like, I don't think so. But the psychic that was there is like, oh yeah, definitely. That definitely can affect you in this lifetime. So we went in and we killed the clone. We took back the energy or whatever. I don't know what she did, but she was able to nope, cut the cord or whatever.
Right.
So, I guess we could ask if those clones are still.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
I know. And it's interesting because I was getting that intuitively as well. that they couldn't tap into your soul energy, that for some reason they couldn't do any transferring of your soul energy because that strength card came up. And then we've got the 10 of Pentacles. So this is, they've tried lots of times, because that to me is a multiple card of many whatevers, and it's an abundance card. There's something about you that, so when the Queen of Swords comes up, this is about someone who speaks truth very directly. It's like they couldn't crack it with you. And then this Devil card came up. It's almost like they just couldn't get in to do what they wanted to do with you. This is why they had to take so much time talking with you and bringing you into the fold and all of that. So your clones may have been physical representations of you, but they couldn't get in to your into your actual soul energy, is what I'm getting.
That's so fascinating. Yeah, because it was like, you know, the whole Larry thing in 2017, and then there were major efforts to bring me into something, and I was naive at the time. Like now that wouldn't fly. I'm so much wiser than I was, but back then with Larry, I was totally oblivious. With this other guy, I was intrigued, and I knew I was never going to join the program, but I wanted to see how far I could take it. I wanted to see what this was about. It was more like a research project to me at that time, but me doing that was consenting to a lot of darkness in my life that I now, reflecting back, I understand what I was agreeing to just by even allowing this man in my life, you know, and it was not great. In fact, I would get my psychic attacks and my sleep paralysis was at an all-time high during this period. At any time that I would speak with him, I could guarantee I was going to be attacked or something that happened that night. The military abductions, there was a whole weird thing with these military abductions at the time, and just a number of things. Something else I was going to say, but I just lost it. But it was just ramped up. Everything was ramped up at that time. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
but as soon as I was able to break that, it felt like I was under a spell actually at some point. Like it was like I couldn't get enough of the information and everything that he had, but at what cost, you know? And then I found out later that he's quite literally, well, somebody I know who has ties with the Office of Naval Intelligence ran his name. It's not in a public database because he's in a private program, and they found him in a classified file, basically, and told me that he was a warrant officer recruitment specialist for the ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence, and his job was to recruit gifted starseeds into the program. And it wasn't just me he was doing this to. He was actually preying on our audience because we were interviewing him, and it was like some of our audience members, he was like basically like anybody that would bite, he was trying to do this to. It wasn't just me. He had to be exhausted, honestly.
Wow.
That's pretty huge, isn't it? But I think that's why the Devil card came up at the end, because it would bring up your fears or anything they could latch onto.
Right.
That was useful for them with your psychic attacks and with all of that paralysis, sleep paralysis.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I had a number of things that were just off, weird in my life, you know. People were breaking into my car frequently, but nothing was being taken. I would come outside and the doors would be open, the glove box would be open, but literally nothing would be gone. My seats would be like reclined and readjusted. My dog's collar was going missing. There was something
Tyler,
really.
Those are my next questions right there.
That's so funny. I'm
my
tapping
God,
into your paper. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's the next question is, who was opening Tyler's mailbox every Sunday? His vehicle was being broken into, and things that were happening after meeting John, which is not his real name, just so everybody knows. Right. Okay. So what can the cards tell us? Was it this John guy that was grooming him, or was it, or were they connected to John? And what was the purpose? Like just to try to assert I guess
I think,
their power or their, I don't know.
well, I
You know,
think, I've heard, we've interviewed a lot of targeted individuals, and the purpose, I think, because I've heard stories of like gang stalking and harassment and stuff, and they'll do exactly that. Like they'll even move stuff around in your home or just do things that like really have no consequence, but it's just something subtle enough to make you think you're going crazy. And they want people to actually think they're going start going crazy. It's like they're trying to destroy their credibility by making them go insane. And because they're just like, why would somebody break into my house and not take anything but just move my couch? Or what's going on here,
Yeah.
yep.
It's
To
spot
mess
on,
with
because
you.
what came up, Five of Swords, this is when your mind is like asking lots of questions. It's fighting itself. It's because of the change that's going on. And then this was their ploy. So they were hoping that you'd come to them to ask questions, because that Six of Cups is, we're the safe community, but you could make the decision emotionally. And it would happen quickly. I don't know why, but the Eight of Wands has come up. So it was almost like things would happen really quickly. And they had a group, they had it set up. It was a foundation. They could just call on anyone to go and do this. They'd give them specifics and give them whatever. So that Four of Pentacles to me is they had that at their disposal.
Yeah, it reminds me of the CIA movies like John Wick or Jason Bourne, whenever they activate the assets to go target Jason Bourne or John Wick. These people are a janitor, a homeless person, a businesswoman, an old lady. It doesn't matter. They're all working for the agency, and they're just living out their lives normally until they literally get the call and they have a target, right? So that could be the case. So there could be anybody stationed in my area as just living out a normal life. They could be working at the dollar store, or whatever the case is, and actually be working for the agency. It's a perfect cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think something like that was happening.
So it wasn't him. I'm not getting that it was him specifically.
Right. Yeah, and I think the most interesting thing was that, so my dog's collar went missing whenever I went to Australia, which is where a whole bunch of stuff happened. When I came home, my dog's collar was missing. It's never gone missing, never came off her for 10 years, And my dog sitter was like, yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I thought maybe I looked for it too. He couldn't find it. And okay, weird. So I went and bought a new collar, put it on her. And I bought a new mattress at the time, but the mattress they sent me wasn't the right one. So it's a whole long story. I wasn't sleeping in my room at the time. I was sleeping outside of my room because I didn't have a mattress. And I had a new mattress in my room. These are details that will be important in a second. I had a new mattress in my room that I didn't want to sleep on because they had to send back. And I closed my bedroom door at that night so the dogs wouldn't go in and sleep on the mattress I had to return. Specifically closed it, and I slept outside of my room. When I woke up the next morning, my dog's like licking my face and stuff, and I go to pet her, and her collar is gone again, the brand new collar. And there's no way it could have just slipped off of her because I made sure. And I'm like, this again? No way. And it looked all over the house, out in the yard. I mean, there's no sign of the collar. Finally, at some point that day, I walked into my bedroom that it was closed all night, and her collar was sitting directly in the middle of the mattress that I was returning. So somebody somehow, while I was sleeping, got the collar and put the collar on the mattress in the room with the door closed as a message. Like we can basically do whatever we want. Like, I don't know how, it's just the craziest thing to me. And then, the CIA has these patents that are like walking through wall systems and stuff. And I'm like, this is the technology involved here. It's like far beyond just like regular gang stalking,
I also am just wondering, were they actually activating you in your sleep to do it? Had you ever thought of that?
Never. If I did it, I would be blown away. If that was the case, I would be blown away.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
But why would I do that in my sleep? I don't understand.
Because they're actually using you to do something for them.
That would be scary. That would be even more. That would be even scarier if I'm the one who did it.
Because I don't know why it just popped into my head, and I went, okay, let's just check on this one first. So And I mean, it may not be, but it's a possibility. Wow. Wheel of Fortune's come up, which things have moved. You may have even gone through a phase of that being the case, is what I'm getting. But you've moved out of it from what I can see with this. Yeah, I think it was part of their strategy. Again, we've got our Seven of Swords. So they, at some level, they were working with you to do what they wanted you to do. Yeah. Yep.
That's scary. That's insane. You know, I can see if it happened while I was sleeping and somehow it did, but there would be times where I would go like to the park and be on a walk. When I get back to my car, it had been gone through and stuff. So it wasn't always like overnight.
No.
But if they were using me to do it, I mean, that's like a crazy level of, you know, he also mentioned to me, he said something he would say often. He's like, you blank slate yourself every day and don't even realize it. Like memory wipe yourself. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, not just you, everybody. Like he goes, nobody's present, and they're constantly being distracted by the next thing, and they'll forget things that happen. Like they'll forget minuscule things that happen throughout their day, or even significant things, because we're constantly on the go and moving. And that's why the way society is set up. But he's like, you blank slate yourself every day. You don't even remember half the stuff you do. That's why most people can't remember what they ate last Friday or whatever the case is, you know? But I think he was trying to hint at even more than just the average like memory slip, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
I did see something where they are targeting us with this forgetting. You forget, constant, like it's hitting us. It's what I saw in a video. I can't remember when or how. But because I tend to be like, not in my reality, you know, that's not happening in my reality. I kind of don't talk about it, right? I heard it, but I just moved on. But absolutely, we're constantly forgetting things.
Right.
Sure.
But I think with you though, Tyler, this is why this card came up, the Eight of Swords. It's like they had you a little bit stronger in something. So, and then I got two yeses with that. So my Ace of Swords and my Ace of Pentacles came up, but you're too strong for them, because we've got our beautiful Queen of Swords again. You're too direct. You're too clear within yourself. So you probably you wouldn't have been a good candidate for them as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, absolutely, that's the case. I mean, I got very, very ill, very sick during that period. And I had to, well, there was a whole weird thing. That's not even in the book. There was this whole thing that happened. I think because of that, because they couldn't get to me, I was very sick, like to the point where I thought I might actually die. Like I was sick for like 2 months, and it was really bad. And I went to the ER, and there's a whole story of a weird thing that happened to me. But I think there was something else going on at that hospital. I think they actually saved my life. Something beyond like this dimension. It was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
So that's a separate one. That's later in the book, but this is one I didn't put in the book that happened before that.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. I never told that story really, but it's part of that same time. Yeah.
So wow. And can you tell us what happened or not? You don't.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So I was, well, the relationship I was in prior to all this, whenever I met him, I was talking to this other girl who had ties with the CIA and was overtly a handler, I realized, basically. And it was a whole thing that I walked right into blindly, because they have tactics that can appeal to men. And I didn't know that at the time. I had to learn directly in the hard way. But it was all during the time when he was coming into my life and all this stuff. Well, that ended with that girl. But after that, I got extremely deathly ill, to the point where I just couldn't eat anymore. And I was like it just wouldn't, I couldn't get better. And I'm so hard headed. I didn't want to go to the hospital. It was during COVID. they wanted you to have the jab and all the stuff, and they had to wear the mask, and I just wasn't playing those games. So I'd rather just be sick and just ride it out, but it wasn't going away. And to the point where I went to the refrigerator and I blacked out the refrigerator, and thank God that like my hand was on the handle, because somehow I like that kept me from falling back and hitting my head. And my dad started getting really, really worried about me. He was seeing me decline to the point where he came over to my house and made me go to the urgent care. Like, he's like, I'm taking you. I don't care. Like, this is bad. Like, you have to get some help. Something's wrong with you, you know? And he was right. So took me to this urgent care. They did some tests, and they called the ER for me. They said, you need to go to the emergency room and to check if my brain was bleeding. And that's what she had thought. She had, did some equilibrium tests, and they called the emergency room for me. It's at the nearby hospital. And she said, they know that you're on the way. And it's a DePere hospital, and there's 2 locations. Well, they told me the location to go to, but somehow or another, we went to the wrong location, even though I'm almost positive we went to the one they told us to go to. And there was nobody at the hospital. I mean, nobody in the emergency room in the middle of the day. And they brought me into the hospital, or I went into the emergency room. Nobody was there. They took me straight back. Never told me to put on a mask. Never. Back then, they were. You had to be jabbed. Like, they weren't even taking people. They were questioning everything, and they didn't even give me the COVID test either, which was protocol. Like, nothing was right. They just took me straight back. And they put me on the bed, and they wheeled me back into this CAT scan machine, right? And then I come back out, and while the girl was bringing me to the CAT scan machine, she was like, she goes, yeah. She goes, so what's going on with you? I'm like, I don't know. And she goes, well, I'm sure they tested you for COVID already. I'm like, no, they didn't give you the test. She like stopped pushing the bed. She goes, they didn't? She's like, well, they will, because that's protocol. Like, you shouldn't be able to come through the door unless you're tested, because it was like the height of it all. And I was like, no, she never tested me. She's like, well, they will, Did a CAT scan, came back, put me on the bed. They put this IV in my arm. And whatever they put in my arm, it literally felt like my skin was crawling from the inside out. It felt like I was going to explode. Like I couldn't stay still. It hurt so bad. I started crying and was like screaming. I was in so much agonizing pain. And my dad's like hitting the emergency call button, and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, whatever this IV is like killing me. I thought it was like actually killing me. It was excruciating, but it was from the inside out. So there's nothing to do to ease the pain. And he's hitting the emergency button, and she comes running in, and she gets something else and like puts even more stuff into the IV until I just like sedates me. And then I slept for like 3 hours and woke up and was 100% better. Like, after being sick for months, it like quite literally almost 2 months. And I walked out of the hospital, and from that day forward, I was fine. And I think whatever was in the IV actually was reversing some poison that was in my body, that the reason I couldn't recover. I think that I went to that wrong hospital divinely. I think I was divinely guided to the wrong hospital. And whatever they put in my system that literally felt like it was killing me was actually killing whatever poison or toxins or parasites were in my body, and saving my life, actually. And because I felt like I was literally on my deathbed, and I shouldn't have been. It was just no reason for it. So I think that there was some divine guidance in even saving my life at that point. And yeah. So.
And you don't know the name of what was actually in the IV? You don't know what they put in it?
No, I'm sure this paperwork, I don't think you understand how out of it I was. Like, the details just weren't, it didn't even matter to me. I didn't have the strength to even fight it, Yeah, no,
I get it.
Yeah.
Definitely. You were divinely protected and guided then, because the star cards come up, and it can go either way. So if you'd gone to that other hospital, when you were talking about the hospital, the Knight of Wands came up, and to me, it's taking action the wrong way. So if you'd gone to that hospital, I don't think you would have had a future, because that 3 of Wands has come up. So this is looking forward to the future. You are definitely divinely guided. I feel what I'm feeling is it was that beautiful divine presence within you, called in, you created that as well from within yourself, and you got exactly what you needed. The 9 of Cups is we get everything that we need and desire, and often it's magical. Often it's just like everything can be illusion until we use the tools that we've got to get what we need. So I definitely feel you were divinely guided then. So.
Yeah, the whole thing was weird. Even the first urgent care we went to, we pulled in the lot. I've been going to that urgent care my whole life. It was just randomly closed that day for some weird construction issue. And that was weird. And so we had to find a different one. And like everything was kind of just, we were being redirected all day.
So Maree, when that happens, I'm feeling like we go to a different reality that is created for us, almost like it's another dimension or reality where it's almost like he didn't even go to the second hospital. He went to some other reality, I guess, dimension, where all of this was created for him. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah. So the sun cards come out, like when you're talking about that. And yes, and this says it all. It's like it's definitely somewhere different. However, remember, we live in a hologram, so we can actually do that. We can actually go in between or go wherever we need, to improve something. So so it's almost like totally. At 5 of Cups, this is the grief, but then of something that's going on, which you went through. But then there's 2 cups behind, which always tells me that something's going to be balanced out. 8 of Cups, you walked away from that situation completely. And you found a new part of yourself because the Lover's card has come up.
Right.
So, it was almost like you had to go through that.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting too, I felt like that's true. My dad was with me both times whenever my most life-threatening things happened where I had to go to the ER. He just happened to be with me in those situations in the hospital. And I think that played a huge part in it, honestly. And it's interesting the Lovers card came up because through this grooming process with this guy, I met this girl, which we were steered into each other's life, and it was all set up. It was all manipulated. And that whole connection between us was exploited, and we were both targeted. And there's a whole story about that I cover in my book. But she came into my life immediately after I got out of the hospital and got better. And whenever she was one of the most gifted psychics I've met to this day, and gifted remote viewers, which maybe it's the same thing, but she immediately saw that the past relationship from the CIA girl, whatever, I was like under some spell still, like there was cords still attached, but energetically it was like I could have gotten sick right away again, basically, had I not removed. So there was entities involved. And she was able to see, and she helped me like clear all this stuff and do all this healing work. And there's incredible stuff to get my strength back and to get me back on my feet. So I stopped getting, attacked. But then a whole other thing happened because of that. It's like they just started over and just tried again. But it was the Lovers card maybe came up because she came in and almost saved me in a way, even though we were steered into each other's life for a nefarious purpose. They always shoot themselves in the foot. There's always a silver lining,
Correct. And it's interesting it did come up. So you obviously needed that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what an adventure.
So they did try to kill you then.
But it was so covert. Like I just thought I was sick. I didn't even realize until after the fact that could have been an attempt.
So why do you think that happened at the time? Like what was it that happened that prompted that to happen?
I broke free from the handler situation I was in before that. I saw it for what it was after I had just had the wool pulled over my eyes for so long.
Oh, the woman.
Yeah. I broke free from that. And I don't think that they liked that. They lost their grip there. So they had to try something new. I'm just speculating. I really don't know. Like I never even connected the dots that my health. Well, what happened was I couldn't sleep. Like I became an insomniac or whatever you call those people. I just couldn't sleep. And that, when I mean that, like I was not sleeping for a couple of days at a time. And we hear those stories and it sounds impossible, but I actually couldn't sleep. Like something was fucking with me. And I was like, felt like I was plugged into like a low voltage power supply. I couldn't rest. I couldn't relax. My nervous system was fried. When I did get some sleep, it wasn't enough. And such a long period of me not getting sleep that my whole body and energy field was so weakened and so small that I think that's whenever they were able to attack me and make me sick and whatever that was. So that's kind of how that started.
Hmm.
Maree,
Yeah, wow.
did you do the cards for that or no?
Yeah, and I'm just doing them now actually afterwards. So yeah. The fact that you said no, because we've got our Two of Swords come up. So you saying no to them was the trigger for all of this, definitely. They don't like that. And so it's really interesting. High Priestess. So there was a lot of mystery in behind this that was like out of worldly almost, like you were saying. So, and yeah, so, and yeah, they didn't want you around. That Ten of Swords is when
God
popped off. So you were not meant to come through this. And yes, but that one wants to come out. Yeah, Four of Cups. So you made your choice. You went, I am not looking at all of this. I'm just not going to take it at all. So, I mean, it's probably a miracle that you're still here, to tell you the truth. It's what went on.
Honestly, I mean, I think about that often, and in particular, a different time when I was in the hospital. That's in the end of my book. I just wonder how I even made it through that evening, and why I'm still here. And I actually thought that was the end of my life that night. And I guess God had other plans because I'm still here. But yeah, I don't know why. Like, it's just crazy to me that, like, okay, why me? I've had to ask these questions. Who am I? Like, what? Why? How could I possibly be such a threat? Why are they so interested in me? There's just all these questions. I just don't know.
I feel they were trying to re-recruit your soul. It's not even, it's your identity. The Seven of Wands is all about identity. So I feel this was something that they can read literally. I feel this was like, oh yeah, we know what he can do, all of that stuff. So it's hermits come up. So yeah, that's deep. That's looking deep.
Maree, what I'm getting is that his light is so bright that by getting him to get into these programs, they're able to dim his light. They're able to subject one more light worker, like very strong light. Like I feel like his light is so massive that if they can recruit him, they can actually, shut that light that is helping the world wake up, I guess.
True. It's very true. And it can be flipped and used the other way is what I'm getting. I feel that's what I was feeling. I'm going to double check this. I was feeling that that's happened to you before in other lifetimes on other timelines. So let me just double check that to see if that's.
That's the only explanation I could come up with too. Like I had to be some kind of threat on some higher level that I'm even unaware of,
I agree. That sun card, and that's since a child, because the child, it comes up when the sun cards, they're the bright light, the child that, but you've actually been flipped on other timelines. And this is why I just know this timeline, this earth plane, we're fine. We've got this. So yeah, look at that. Your identity cards come up again. They just knew who you were, So I reckon that's what it was, because that's what I was getting intuitively. So
okay.
Wow. So it worked on other timelines or in the past. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what the wisdom you've got in this lifetime, you've gleaned from those other timelines. You've actually brought it together to a place now where it's just not going to work on you.
Right. It's interesting. I have this birthmark right here that's kind of just sporadic. And I had this past life session. It wasn't a regression. It was this guy that does past life readings, and he doesn't put you under. He just can tap in and see. And he tapped into my most previous past life, and it was the 1800s or maybe not. Yeah, it was. He says my most previous past life. It was the late 1800s, and I was anti-slavery, and I was fighting slavery, and I was like an activist, right? And eventually, I was basically. He said I was shot. He goes, yeah. He goes, you basically pushed the wrong buttons, and you were shot. And he goes, I see the bullet. I see the exit wound right here. He had no idea I have this birthmark here. And I was like, dude, and I took a picture of the back of my head. It is precisely where he pointed that I have this birthmark. And we always hear that like a birthmark is a scar from how he died in a previous life.
Yep.
And he had the information down to the name of the guy, where he lived, like all this stuff. It would just tap into this field, right? And it was incredible. And I'm just like, if that's true, like there's no way he could have known. And like, he was even shocked. He was like, holy crap, that's the first time that's ever happened. So just a little interesting side note.
Wow. It's very interesting. Yeah, because I've got some birthmarks, and I've actually found where they've come from, and especially when I've met a person in real life that was a part of it all. It was like, oh, okay, this is where this comes from. So it's pretty intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a soul imprint or something from that previous life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I did get some kind of hit about your hips. What was your hip thing? You were born with it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from that lifetime, like from those lifetimes where they took you. Like I felt like that came from that.
Yeah, it's interesting because my mother had issues too like that, and she actually had a surgery go bad, and she couldn't walk after it, and she died at age 50. But my back pain didn't come until later in life. Like I had it as a child, but it always got written off. And parent, oh, you're fine, whatever. But there's a whole back history there. But as I got older, I felt like it was karma also. Not karma, but I think I was supposed to. I never understood my mom's pain. And I didn't understand, like sometimes I thought she was over exaggerating about her back pain or just whatever. And I think I had to experience the same thing she experienced to know what she went through also. So I feel like there's some weird thing there tied to the pain. And then that pain has been driving me, is like been the prime driving force behind my healing journey, Yeah, it's primary. Yeah.
And if we don't feel pain, if our life is too comfortable, we're not going to ask questions, are we?
Right.
And it's in genetics. If it was a hip dysplasia, it would have been through the genetics, and you would have picked that deliberately.
Right.
For your, absolutely. Yeah.
And I still deal with it. It's not gone. My entire life's purpose is to try and correct it and find a way to live without pain,
Absolutely. And you will.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
All right. So we finally get to one of the most favorite chapters. So the Boeing facility, chapter 11. And do you want to tell us a little bit about what the chapter is about before this is the spider chapter, right?
Yes.
Well, not the spider, but.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one everybody's most interested in, definitely, for some reason, which surprised me. The whole book,
actually, there's another one I like even better than this one, but this is one of the really good ones.
Right. Well, like I said, though, that surprises me because it was just one that a lot of people asked me about. And to me, it was just, I don't know, it wasn't the most significant chapter, but apparently it was. So it was this time during this guy was, this grooming process. I had already had a dream with him. We were in a Walmart, breaking into a Walmart in Jefferson City, Missouri. And very specifically, there was like an upstairs in this Walmart, and we were looking through these files for some sort of document. And we found it, and there's this whole thing, and it was just crazy real. And I didn't know it was in Jefferson City right away, but whenever I told him about it, he had the same memory. He knew all about it, filled in all the blanks, and like it was a real thing, like he was there too. and it felt real. Like it didn't feel like a dream at all, to be honest. But that's the only, you wake up with this memory, so you just think it's a dream. And that was the first time it happened. Then the same thing happened again with him, but this time it was a different and more intense. And I woke up in the back of I just found myself, I came to in the back of an SUV, the black SUV in the middle of the night. And there was another one in front of us, and there was men in unmarked fatigues, black fatigues, 2 in the front seat, 1 next to me. And we were driving I knew we were in Illinois because I live right there on the border. I lived back on the border of Missouri and Illinois. And I was just familiar with the terrain, and I was able to see enough. It looked like Illinois. At least I thought it was. And we pulled into this parking lot in the middle of the night, and there's these 2 buildings, and we pull up, and then John gets out of the car in front of us, and there he is again. And there's a whole story with it, but long story short, they escort me in between these buildings around the backside of the buildings. We go into this door and down the stairs, the switchback stairs, until we're in this underground portion of this Boeing facility. I didn't know it was Boeing at the time. I found that out later after
Which
I
is the
realized
crazy part too. Yeah.
After I realized this was a real thing. And so they bring me down and escort me down this long hallway. It's like this big warehouse, but we're deep, it didn't seem like it should be the basement of this facility, because the ceilings were like 3 stories high, and it was just massive, and they go into this room, and everything's metal. The floor is metal. The doors are metal. And we go into this room, and there's, for lack of a better term, there's this platform in the middle of the room. About the size of a gymnasium, like a basketball court, about that size. And surrounding the platform were people standing in their own individual squares with yellow and black caution tape outlining each one in the whole platform. And I go into this room with all these guys that escort me by gun at gunpoint. Not at gunpoint, but they had their guns out. And John walks across this platform, and there's a black woman on the other side of the room. And they start putting on these like hazmat suits, these white like hazmat suits like you see in E.T. or something. And the black woman, she says, "All right, everybody without a mask on needs to step out of the room now, please." And all the people that were surrounding that platform, they had these gas masks on. They look like gas masks, kind of like a futuristic looking gas mask. Well, me or the guards next to me didn't have a mask on. So I started walking out with these guys. I just started walking out, and John goes, "Tyler, not you." And I turn around and look, and I walk back in, and they close the door behind me and lock it or seal it, whatever. And then they put on the mask part of the mask, or the head covering. And he leans down into the floor and like twists up this canister and pulls up this thing. And it literally looked like a sci-fi special effect. Like it was like dry ice effect or something. That's what it looked like. Like something you'd see in a movie, just like, psst, like pulls it up. And I couldn't tell, but I couldn't see what was inside of it, but it was a glass canister with like some fluid in it. And he had there was a pair of tongs that he had. And like, mind you, he had this mask on, and everybody had masks on and everything. And they had these suits on. Well, he opens this thing and reaches in with the tongs and pulls out this thing that looks like a graphene oxide spider, like black goo type of thing. It's just constantly just doing this. But as soon as it hit the air, when it was pulled out of this fluid, it started emitting this super dense frequency that literally brought everyone in the room to their knees, except for John and the woman in suits, and then myself. It started to bring me down, but I resisted it just innately, because I realized, like, in that moment I had an epiphany, because it was the same exact frequency that I felt, or pressure I felt, whenever I was under sleep paralysis. And I had been fighting sleep paralysis for a decade at this point, so I knew how to break free from it. I got really good at resisting that and breaking free. Like, they couldn't hold me under anymore. Well, it was the same feeling. And I was like, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, it's a frequency. That's how they paralyze you. Like it's quite literally some sort of a frequency. And I was like having this epiphany in the moment. So anyway, I'm standing and everyone else in the room, all those people were like brought down to their knees. And it's almost as if like they're being pulled down by a magnet or something, you know, like somebody just turned gravity on high. And he lets go of this thing. And it starts just, it's like twisting and morphing and looks like it's self-replicating all at the same time and just like floating up into the middle of this platform. And don't even ask me how this happened. And this is why I think it happens on another timeline, because I can't do it in this lifetime. But I leaned into that frequency. I like literally leaned in and I started like floating, like levitating. And in the book, I talk about how I levitate in my dreams all the time. A lot of people do apparently, but it happens to me a lot, to the point where I've actually tried to do it in real life because I'm like, man, it's like so real in my dream. Maybe I can do it. And that's also something John was very interested in. He always asked me about my levitation, how he always wanted to know how I did it, how I accomplished it, as if it was like some gift, like a starseed ability or something, right? Well, I start leaning into this frequency and I start levitating just like I did in my dreams. It was all natural, like I just knew what to do. And I start like levitating and floating up, and this thing's going up, and we're like meeting face to face in the middle of this platform. It's like this showdown or something. But as it's getting closer to me, I start to realize like if it touches me, I'm dead. Like I had that knowing like this thing was going to kill me if I don't do anything about it. And all at once I understood what was happening. Like they were testing my abilities. I felt like many people had been brought into this room before, and they had brought this thing out to see how they responded to it. Anyway, once fear set in and I realized what was happening, and I'm face to face. Well, there's no face on it, but I'm face to face with it, right? And it's getting bigger and closer. The only way I break out of it in sleep paralysis is I literally create this like nuclear explosion of white light, this Christ consciousness, white light, and you just tap into your heart. And I just knew like that's the only thing I could think of to do. So I did that. I literally closed my eyes, like this thing was right in front of me. I just dropped into my heart. It reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. If anybody's seen Dragon Ball Z, and he does a spirit bomb and he just collects the energy from everyone around him, you know, that's what it was like. And I just put my arm out and I just like, it was almost like this ball of light. I don't know if it was like visible or not, but that's what it seemed like to me. I just put my arm out and just like did this blast of light just from this place of peace. And this thing quite literally dissolved, dissipated in midair in front of me. And I like immediately everybody was freed, was able to stand up, like that gravity, that whatever was holding them down broke free. And I just started like floating back down, and they started like applauding, like the people around me started applauding. And then John and the other girl like looked at each other as if like, okay, we got something here or whatever. And I walked across the platform once I landed, and they were all the people were like just chattering amongst themselves, like pointing at me. And they were talking amongst themselves. But as I got closer, I overheard them say, "We're bringing them in," whatever that meant. And then they escorted me through this door on the other side of the room. And the memory, that part of the memory, I don't have memory between there and what happened next. The next thing I know is I find myself in what looked like, well, it was an abandoned shopping mall. And there was one of these things that I had just encountered, quite literally on the loose, like in this thing. And there was a team of soldiers in there that were fighting this thing. Like they had been sent in, but they just had regular guns. And they were all wearing these suits that would protect them like the other people had on. And it seemed like they were literally like hiding behind some rubble and just like blind firing at this thing, and the bullets had no effect. And it was almost like a lost cause that they were even there, but it seemed like they didn't know what to do about this thing. So I did exactly what I did in the facility, and I just literally did the same exact thing. I just knew. And then that's whenever after I destroyed the second one, I woke up in my bed, literally sideways out of the cover. I had overslept. I missed a bunch of phone calls. My roommate, I was supposed to do something like his job with him, and he was calling me because I was supposed to meet him there. And he's like, "Where are you at?" Like the whole thing. And I was like completely disoriented. I didn't know what was going on. And I had full, vivid memory of all of that. It wasn't like it just randomly came back slowly. It was just, I woke up and like had that memory, and more revealed itself, and turned out to be a real place. It was a Boeing facility that was only 43 minutes from my house. And it was very synchronistic how I even found that out. So I ended up driving out there and had this whole breakdown, realizing these buildings were real. Like this was supposed to be a dream, but I'm finding these buildings and there's just a lot there. So any questions you want to ask?
Yeah, so that's the actual bleed through. Like that's why it was so like that's when I was like, that's the bleed through. That's what this book is about. It's like where the real life collided with whatever this other life is. I don't know, dream life, some other lifetime. I don't freaking know. I was hoping Maree can explain better. Mm-hmm. But that's where this bleed through. It was so like, oh my God, it blew my mind. That was crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it just feels to me like you were physically there.
Yeah.
That's the actual. So I asked that and I got a yes. And then I got the Chariot. So this means that you were there because you're moving forward, but it's in a balanced way. So you were absolutely there. This was, again, I got it. And then when I was asking about how you actually dealt with that device or that energy, it was like, yes, it's emotion. It's through love. And that's what transitions the energy. Because energy can never be lost, but it transitions it. And that's what the truth is with it. So, and I completely know what you're talking about because I've done this as well, but in a different scenario. And I just got told love bomb it. So I just went way up, dropped a love bomb, and everyone just looked up and couldn't see me because I was just from a whole different realm, and it completely wiped out what they were doing with their rituals.
Right.
So it's so powerful.
Yeah. And, I was sitting with this through meditation afterwards for a few times, just trying to get clarity on it all and stuff. And what I saw as well, so whenever we wake up under sleep paralysis, there's these entities, there's these demons and stuff. But I also saw them weaponized. So that thing, that graphene oxide or whatever this creature was, it has been weaponized. And I literally saw, it looked like a Men in Black thing, like where they mind wipe you. It was like they would store it in these mini canisters, and it had some sort of targeted thing where they could open up just a portion of it and direct that energy at something to paralyze it. So they were like quite literally using this as a weapon to paralyze people. And that's the culprit behind it. It's not actually a technology. It's this creature, whatever this thing is, this black goo, graphene oxide,
oh my God,
AI thing. So, I mean, obviously I just saw that through meditation. It's not like I can verify that, but.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it's like they've programmed it with a consciousness as well. It's almost like a programming.
Right. And then, we interviewed this girl who calls herself Fringe, and she talks about very similar stuff. And she calls it entity assisted technology. It's like technology that literally is working hand in hand with these entities. And that's what these dark programs use.
Makes so much sense. Eat.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Maree, so you're saying that Tyler was there physically. So can you explain how that's possible? Did they take his body? Did they like, how is that possible?
So the card that's come up with the 7 of cups, to me this is a chaos card. So it's almost like we can physically be somewhere else. We can do the what's it called when you go from one place to another?
Bilocate?
Yeah, absolutely. You can bilocate, and they've got a means to do that. Absolutely. Is what I'm getting from this. Yeah, there we go. The Queen of Wands has come up. Absolute integrity with that. They use it.
Okay, so because that was a question that I had. How did he get there? Was he drugged, or did they use technology?
Yeah. Okay, let's check with that. Yeah, that's a great question as well. I mean, I'll do the cards first if you like, or Tyler, you can talk about what you feel it was. Whatever you want
Honestly,
to.
I don't know. I can honestly say I just genuinely don't know if
Yeah.
I was physically pulled out of my house or if I bilocated or somehow I was experiencing this quite literally in another dimension or another timeline where like things are slightly different but the same, and I think maybe that's where some of these programs actually exist and operate out of, like this higher dimensions maybe.
Yeah, different dimensional. That one's hot too. Yeah. Yeah. So the Ace of Wands was really hot when you were talking about that. So it can be another dimension, but you're actually physically experiencing it from this dimension. It's
Right.
it's fascinating. Yeah, I know. And they've been working on that for a long time because that Eight of Pentacles came up again. There's stuff that we couldn't even begin to comprehend unless you've like probably experienced it or you're meant to know a little bit more about it, is what I'm getting. Yeah, Judgment. It's like you're meant to remember things as well. That Judgment card to me is when people are waking up and remembering something or something's been shown to them.
Right.
So yeah, so that your physical body could be in that other dimension as a physical body sort of thing.
Right.
So are they able to switch him to that dimension without his I mean, we have free will here, so I thought that they can't do that without your approval.
Well, I think by me, I think this is what I've sat with. I think by me literally engaging with this man and entertaining everything that he had to say and all this recruitment stuff and not walking away from it, I think I was just consenting to whatever came with that.
Oh,
that was
boy.
that was my consent.
That's
Absolutely.
crazy.
King of Cups has come up. This is an emotional, you got drawn in through that emotional interest, whatever. And there's always something hidden. And then I just got an absolute yes on that. That card flew out when you were talking. So that Ace of Cups is saying that's exactly what's happened. You were giving consent at some level and they knew it. They're not stupid. They know exactly, how it works. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that I knew. I was like, I could have easily walked away from this. Actually, the girl that I met because of this, we were steered into each other's lives and under the guise of remembering each other from the programs. And we did have all these memories of each other. And it was very much of a trauma bond and love at first sight type of thing. But they, oh my gosh, where was I going with that? I just drew a blank. So what was it? What were you just saying again? Help me bring.
Yeah, we were talking about you consenting, and it was like you
Oh yeah.
You could have walked away, but I don't think you could have.
Right. So she was immediately, as a psychic, she warned me. She kept warning me about this guy. Like she was completely unaware. We were unaware that this whole thing was being orchestrated from a higher level, even though I think we knew on some level. But she's like, I do not trust that man. I do not like him. Every time she goes, pay attention. Every time you talk to him, you get attacked. She's like, he is literally like putting your audience under a spell when he talks. Like she would see all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I know him. I met his wife and his daughter. Like he would never do that. And I was kept defending him. And I would like talk her out, talk her down off the ledge. And she'd be like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm overthinking it and stuff. But then again, she was so psychic. She would know if I talked to him that day. She's like, you talked to John today, didn't you? And I was like, damn, she's good. Like, how did she know? She's like, because your entire energy, your field is low after you talk to him. She said he's lowering your field and weakening your field. He exhausts you with hours-long conversation, literally beating you down so they can come and take you. She was telling me all this stuff, and I was literally in denial of it. I was like, that's not happening. There's no way. I couldn't, literally, it was like I was under a spell. I couldn't connect the dots that it was him. I'm like, this stuff's just happening to me because of this, or it's random. And it was all, he was orchestrating this whole thing. And she was onto it the whole time, and I think that's why they started targeting her so heavily. And then it got real whenever like things were happening to her, like daughter, like something happened to her daughter. And that's when we knew, like, okay, that's when it got real for her. But then, we thought, well, we aren't going to let this thing beat us because we had such a connection. So in a way it made us stronger. But at the end, everything stopped after we broke up. Like all the targeting, everything. It was just like, I don't know to what end, but it all stopped. Like, I think they wanted us to break up. I think that the real reason they were targeting us because he didn't want me to. He told me like you couldn't be in love and be in the program, like it just didn't work. So they were testing me to see if that's what I really wanted out of life. Whenever we actually ended up having a connection, and she was starting to see through him and all that stuff, we were being targeted. Finally, we ended it, but then all that targeting ended at the same time for the most part. Didn't all end, but the heavy part ended. And I think that, again, them shooting themselves in the foot,
Yeah.
It's interesting
Wow.
because what I was getting, it was so interesting with that. It was like he was telling you a big fat lie. It wasn't that you had to choose between them and love. It was that it was her. You two together were way too powerful. And I got an Ace of Swords saying yes to that. I got an Ace of Cups saying yes to that. And I got the Fool. You would have started something so incredible. So, but it wasn't obviously for that timing for you guys in this timeline. It wasn't meant to be, but they knew this. And that's why they were absolutely trying to veto you.
Yeah. And that's the conclusion I came to after seeing movies like The Adjustment Bureau or the latest Matrix movie, where they depict exactly that. Like they keep Neo, they realize that Neo and Trinity, like together, was detrimental to the deep state, to the cabal, to the dark. So they couldn't do that. But they also, apart, they couldn't do anything with the energy. So they kept them just close enough together in each other's life so they can harvest that energy and utilize it without them ever remembering the connection. But when they remember the connection, then boom, what did they do? They win. Same thing in the Adjustment Bureau. They're trying to keep these lovers apart the whole time, and they're behind the scenes, like literally manipulating things and events in their life so these people never meet. Because if they met, it was powerful. It like literally rewrote the whole system, the codes for the Matrix, if these people fell in love. And then they would even when they were together, they would make things miserable for them in their lives. So when they were together, they couldn't fully trust and connect. And he was like, it doesn't matter if they kiss, but if they kiss and mean it, then that's dangerous. And that's so they like, you can still sleep with somebody, but if you're not open and fully heart connected, then they're safe. But if you understand that connection and drop into your heart and bond with somebody on a sacred level, that love is literally detrimental to the dark on this planet. And that's what they don't want to happen.
Wow, and that's incredible.
That's amazing. But it's so true, because I really feel that's what's happening with connections and relationships now. And there's just so many of them. And it's just like these sparks of light going off everywhere. Yeah, creating new grid lines. You said that really.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I have just one question left, because we've kind of talked about everything around it. But can the cards tell us, or even Jazzy, what this nanotechnology, was it tech with like its own mind, or is it controlled remotely?
Interesting. Okay, let's just check with the cards. So let's ask about it.
I want to know more about its essence. Yes.
Right. I felt that.
Yeah.
I think that it was intelligent, because they had to keep it contained. If it was controlled remotely by them, they wouldn't have to contain it like they were and put on all the suits for,
Okay, so then was it created?
Yeah, where did it come from? Is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Where,
exactly.
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Wow, getting really hot with this one. This is interesting. It's almost like an AI is what I'm getting. Yeah, and I just got an Ace of Pentacles as I said that. So to me, that's a yes. It is an AI, and of course, an AI can create its own consciousness, and so they were. Yeah, I feel like they were playing with it. 5 of Swords came up first. I feel they were playing with all these ideas and not really knowing where it would go. It's like, yeah, we'll be fine, and it wasn't fine. So yeah, no, got another Ace of Swords with that one. So this is so interesting. So it was like it's a consciousness that they've created through, whether it's AI, whether it's they've added in some like low astral demonic. I don't know. There
Right,
could be
right.
a mix, just like a cake. It's like you put enough in there to create something that's, but you can be programmed. And I've got the word programmed. So they can program it to an extent. So this is why that Page of Cups has come up. So,
Interesting.
but yeah, it goes rogue, definitely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, like, if they couldn't contain that, like they had to have a way to neutralize it, maybe. Why would they feel safe letting it out? Unless that room that it was in, it couldn't have escaped that room, whatever, who knows. But that's interesting. That's definitely resonates.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot more to it. It's just not something, this is why I love these conversations, because it starts you thinking and you go, oh, hang on a minute. What about this then? What about that? So it's great for opening up questions.
Right.
So this is the last. Oh, Tyler, you have something?
No, go ahead.
So the last thing that I have for that chapter to close out today is that you used to work for Parrick Construction. And when you were there, what happened? All of a sudden, you see that Parrick Construction was there doing stuff for them. So I was just like, oh my God, like that's nuts.
Yeah, so I found out that I had, while I was there and taken in the middle of the night, there was a construction site that you can see across the field. And I saw the sign for the company that I had previously worked for. I had just quit that company. And I'm just like, what? Like, I just took note of it. Like, this is crazy. Like, it was so real. Anyway, when I went back and visited the place after I found out it was a Boeing facility, and I drove out there and realized that these were real buildings, I didn't even think to look for the job site. I was so focused on the buildings. I was just in such disbelief that this was even a real place. And I was trying to figure this out. Okay, well, what now? Like, how is life is? I have no clue what's happening in this life. I don't know what life is anymore, and I'm like just contemplating all this stuff, running this stuff through my head again, thinking about that whole night. I'm sitting in the parking lot and I look up and there's this truck driving a big dumpster, like a 40-yard dumpster on the back of it, and it had Parrick on it. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh my God, if there's a job site over there, then I know this was real. And sure enough, I look up and that truck is driving to a brand new construction, and they're building a Boeing drone facility. And I found out what it was because I reached out to some friends who still work for the company. I'm like, who knows anybody what job is Parrick doing over here at Boeing? And I found out from a friend, and he told me, and he's like, yeah, Parrick's actually done a number of Boeing buildings, which I knew that after they said it, I remembered that. But they had like a contract with them for so many years and all this stuff. So I just thought it was interesting that there's that connection there with the company that I worked for. And that's the company that I was working for whenever Larry got escorted off the job, So, and then if anybody knows anything about union construction or any of the unions, it's a low level secret society. Like I don't know if people understand that, but you have to be initiated in, you have to like be sworn in and all this stuff. It's a brotherhood. And it's quite literally like a low entry level of a secret society. Joining any skilled trade union, and most people don't know that they have the square and compass and all the stuff. So I was already sworn into that through construction, which was to me some form of consent as well. But anybody who joins the trade, the union, has to do the same thing. So there's something tied there as well.
Well, my question is how the heck did you end up there? How were they how did manipulate the situation so that you would end up working for them? Because it's too much of a coincidence.
My dad and my uncle worked for that company. So my dad got me on. Yeah, my dad got me on. And it was just, I got out of high school. I knew I hated school and I wasn't going back to college. I even though I had 2 free years from the A+ program, I didn't even use it. It just went to waste because I'm like, I'm not going back to school. Like school is ridiculous. I knew it was off and the education was off even back then, but I didn't understand it yet. So I asked my dad, I said, can you give me a job? And he said, sure, And I
So they
started
didn't even They didn't even recruit you. You went on your own to work for them. That's crazy. Like
Yeah, but
how?
out of high school, it's just a construction job to you. And I didn't understand anything about unions or society, secret societies or anything like that. I just thought, hey, this is a good paycheck out of high school and I can't turn it down.
So, okay, so I want the cards to tell us, how is this possible? How is it possible that him coming out of college, he's the one that wants to go work for this company that ends up being part of, the bad guys. So like, how is this? What can the cards tell us about this?
Exactly. And as you were talking, I was pulling the cards. So the first one that came up is the foundation card. So the Four of Pentacles. It's often long term. So this was already there. You thought it was amazing. That Sun card's there. Wow, this is just the best thing. It was already set up. They knew it was already set up. So they knew that. And it felt safe to you because it came from your family, your community. So this is the Six of Cups, which is, this is great. I feel really safe. My family have worked here forever, whatever it is. So for you, it was perfect. And for you also, for your soul's experience, it was actually right for your future because of what you were going to experience and go through. So it was a setup. I feel it was a perfect setup for you. Full card. This was your new life. This was your stepping into your remembering.
Oh my God, Tyler, you're Truman.
Right. But honestly, though, it was, I think, our higher selves set this up somehow. And I chose this path to learn these lessons and blow the whistle on this stuff. Not that I'm a whistleblower, but you know what I mean? Like to talk about this stuff and understand it fundamentally so I can interview people and understand that, like, listen, I know this stuff's real. I don't have to question you as a skeptic. Like, let's figure out what's going on here. So I think that path was, everything had to happen exactly the way it did so I can remember who I was and step into my power and learn all these lessons along the way. And, it wasn't always great, but there's a silver lining and I don't regret any of it. I wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't be the man I am today if I hadn't done that. And honestly, just like surface level, I'm so glad to have that construction experience under my belt now because it's such a handy thing everywhere I go in life. And I can do it all myself now. And so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the King of Swords came up. This is definitely a master planner. It was absolutely masterfully planned by you, for you at some level.
Right.
Wow. So Maree, if these construction workers are agreeing to this union with like a secret society type thing, are they agreeing to things they're not even knowing they are agreeing to?
Well, I guess it's when if you do a birth certificate for a child, what are you doing? You're agreeing that it's a chattel for the corporation. Right. So people don't know that. You have to get this in by 60 days. I was a midwife. We had to tell people you've got to get this in within 60 days. So anything, they got every aspect they can. They've tried to cover it. Would you agree with that?
My point is, are they?
I think I can answer your question.
Their energy, or I don't know. Like I feel they're doing something with them without their consent because they consented without knowing they consented by joining that union. If you know what I mean.
Well, I will say that anybody in the union construction, especially, we're treated like slaves, like a number. There's no quality of life whenever they don't want you to just work 40 hours. They're always trying to get overtime out of you. Your job becomes your life and there's nothing else. And it quite literally puts you into that retirement trap. And so there's all that. But then if you understand, this country was literally founded by the secret societies and there's documents and book. I have a book, like all of them, the Knights Templar, the Freemasons, there's a whole, and the Freemasons quite literally were Masons. They actually were construction workers. They actually did build most of the cities and the infrastructure in the United States and in Europe. And there's evidence of that. And their symbols are everywhere, the square and compass and all that stuff. It's literally the foundation of America. So and those unions spawned from that. So it's a branch of the Freemasons, technically.
Wow.
It's not on paper, but it is if you get high enough. And I think it's such a low level initiation to become a Mason. And a young at the lowest levels, they make it sound like a brotherhood, like it's just a really righteous thing to do and be part of this union. And they really sell it as being a good thing. And you know what it does is everyone's walking around in life without purpose, right? But when you join that brotherhood, you suddenly have purpose. And that's where they trick you. They make you think that this is purposeful, and you give all your power and energy to this company or to this union, and they got you that way. You know, it's such a subtle manipulation, but it is a manipulation because nobody remembers what they're doing here. And by the time they get into one of these companies, you know, it's too late unless you break free like I did. I had to just quite literally quit one day and with no plan, but I knew it was sucking my soul. So
yeah. Wow. Well, okay. So that's it for today. Tyler, you want to tell people how to find you?
Yeah. You can go to journeytotruth.online and you can find everything we do there, or you go to YouTube. We got our original channel back. So just Journey to Truth podcast on YouTube. Go follow us over there. Rumble. We have a conference coming up in Hawaii in April of next year. If anybody wants to join us there, you can, tickets are available. All the information is available on our website. And our documentary, the Secret Space Program documentary, it's called Behind the Green Door, A Lifetime of Silence. We're doing a private screening here in Sedona, Arizona on January 9th. It's a labor of love. It's a passion project. We've been filming it for 3 years now, and it's finally coming together. So we rented out the movie theater here in Sedona, Arizona, and we're going to premiere it, private screening on January 9th for anybody who's local or anybody that wants to travel here for it and be a part of that night before we release it on Amazon Prime. So we have that going on too.
Yeah.
And my book. Right. And my book. If anybody wants the book, it's on Amazon or the website.
Yeah, which we've highly recommended over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we'll have you back, and we'll let everybody know once we talk after we're done here. We'll set up for the next couple of chapters that I have questions about. So so Tyler will be back.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Honestly, like these episodes with you are therapeutic.
Oh, good.
Well, it's not necessarily fun to dive back into this stuff, but on other shows, I'm just telling the story, but you guys are actually helping me get answers out of it. So it's a whole different thing for me, and I genuinely appreciate it. So thank you. You're
welcome, Tyler. My pleasure. All right, everybody. We love you so much. Stay high vibing, and we'll see you on Maree's show, Dream Show, on Sunday, or our next show on the following Monday. Take care, everybody.
Bye.